What if I told you that your anxiety isn't about the thing? It's about your thinking. It's not your boss. It's not your bills. It's not even your future. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who was born a slave and rose to teach emperors, said this: "It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them." So what if the real problem is how we interpret the problem? Let me tell you a quick story. Last year I had this big work presentation coming up. You know, one of those all eyes on you moments. I prepped, I practiced, I knew my stuff. But the night before, I couldn't sleep. My chest was tight, my heart was racing, my thoughts were loud. What if I forget what to say? What if they think I'm a fraud? What if I freeze? You've had that spiral too, right? Could be a job interview, a tough conversation, a doctor's appointment. Anxiety kicks in, and suddenly the event becomes a monster in your mind. But here's the twist. The event hasn't even happened yet. So what are we actually afraid of? Most people think anxiety is about danger, like some internal alarm system going off to protect us. But here's the catch. It's often not real danger, it's imagined disaster. We're not afraid of the thing itself. We're afraid of what we think the thing means. Epictetus nailed this. He said, "When we are frustrated, angry, or unhappy, never hold anyone except ourselves accountable." Now, I know that sounds harsh, but sit with it. He's not blaming you. He's freeing you. He's saying, you have more power than you think. Because if your anxiety comes from your interpretation, then you can change that interpretation. Let's be honest. Most advice on anxiety is about numbing it. Apps, pills, distractions, escape plans. But what if instead of running from anxiety, you could understand it? And then strip its power away. Here's the deeper truth. Anxiety isn't your enemy. It's a signal, a story you're telling yourself on repeat. And stories can be rewritten. You suffer more in imagination than reality. Epictetus said, "What upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about these things." Let that land. He's not saying life isn't hard. He's saying anxiety comes from the gap between reality and your judgment of it. Let me give you a real example. A friend of mine was terrified of flying, not just nervous, full-on panic. She'd cancelled trips, avoid holidays, turned down job offers, but she never had a bad experience in the air, not once. So I asked her, "What exactly are you afraid of?" She said, "Losing control, being trapped, dying." Now look at that list. None of it was about the plane. It was about her judgment of flying. Her mind had built a whole horror movie around something millions of people do safely every day. Here's where Epictetus comes in again. We are disturbed not by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens. Now pause here. Think about your own anxiety. What's the story behind it? That you'll fail, that people will judge you, that everything will fall apart. Where did that story come from? And more importantly, is it actually true? Let's try a quick reframe. Same work presentation I mentioned earlier. Instead of, "What if I fail?" I asked, "What if this is just a conversation? What if they want me to do well? What if I've already done hard things before, and this is just another one?" Boom. Instant drop in tension. Not because the event changed, but because the judgment changed. Here's the thing. You don't need to fight anxiety. You just need to question the story that's feeding it. That's what Epictetus taught. He didn't say never feel nervous. He said don't hand your peace over to your thoughts without checking if they're true. Punchy takeaway? You can't control everything, but you can control the meaning you give it. Control is your anchor, but you're gripping the wrong things. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. This line hit me the first time I read it, because it exposes the whole trap of anxiety in just one sentence. Let's be real. Most of our stress isn't about what is happening, it's about what might happen. And most of what might happen, you don't control it. You don't control how people react. You don't control the traffic. You don't control your boss's mood, the economy, or tomorrow's headlines. But what do you control? Your effort, your thoughts, your attitude in the moment you're in right now. That's it. Here's a simple example. A friend of mine was interviewing for her dream job. She crushed the prep, knew her material, had great experience. But the night before the interview, she panicked. What if they ask something I didn't prepare for? What if they don't like me? What if I blank? I asked her, "Can you control the questions?" "No." "Can you control how they feel about you?" "No." "Then what can you control?" She sighed and said, "How I show up." Exactly. That's what Epictetus is pointing to. The moment you stop trying to control things outside your power, you get your power back. Here's a pattern interrupt. Take 10 seconds. Think about the thing you're most anxious about right now. Now ask, what parts of this do I actually control? You'll notice something weird. Almost all your anxiety is wrapped around things that are out of your hands. So here's a better question. Why are you using your energy to fight battles that aren't yours? Anxiety thrives in places where control is impossible. So shrink the circle, get real about what's actually yours to manage, and drop the rest. That's not avoidance, that's clarity. Epictetus again, there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Let that guide you. You're not your thoughts, you're the one watching them. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Okay, let's talk about something uncomfortable. Sometimes your anxiety isn't coming at you, it's coming from you. And yeah, this part sucks to admit, because we all want to believe we're the victim of our thoughts. But Epictetus says, your mind isn't just reacting, it's agreeing. It's saying, yes, this is scary. Yes, this means I'll fail. Yes, this thought must be true because I feel it strongly. But that's not always the case. Your mind can lie. It can spin stories that feel urgent but aren't useful. You might be wondering, so what am I supposed to do? Just ignore my thoughts? No. You're supposed to notice them without believing them. Big difference. Let's look at an example. I used to get anxious before publishing anything online. Not because I thought the writing was bad, but because I thought people might think it was bad. And that voice in my head? It wasn't protecting me. It was collaborating with fear. It said, don't post that. You'll sound dumb. People will laugh. But those thoughts weren't facts. They were just habits, echoes of old fears I hadn't challenged yet. So I started asking, wait, who's actually talking here? Is this thought helping me or holding me hostage? That's when everything shifted. Epictetus again. It is not external events themselves that cause us distress, but the way in which we think about them. Here's the truth. You don't need to silence your thoughts. You just need to stop surrendering to them. You're not the storm, you're the sailor. You don't control the wind, but you do control the sail. Anxiety isn't a signal to retreat. It's a cue to take the wheel. Let's talk about what happens when we don't get this. When we let anxiety lead. When we believe every thought. When we try to control what isn't ours. You know what it looks like. Burnout. Sleepless nights. Saying no to things we want. Pulling away from people we love. I had a friend who used to cancel plans all the time. He'd say, I just don't feel right. I need to get my head together. But months went by. Then years. He built a whole life around avoiding the feeling of discomfort. And it cost him friendships, opportunities, confidence. Epictetus warned us about this. How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? That one stings. Because it's not about perfection, it's about courage. The courage to stop running from fear and start living with clarity. Here are 3 core truths from Epictetus that can actually change how you deal with anxiety. 1. You are not your thoughts. It is not events that disturb us, but our interpretation of them. You don't have to believe every fear your mind throws at you. You can step back. You can say, I see you, but you're not driving. 2. Control what's yours. Drop what's not. Make the best use of what is in your power. When anxiety spikes, ask, what here is mine to handle? If it's outside your circle, let it go. 3. You always have a choice. You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus has the power to break my freedom of choice. Even when life feels chaotic, your inner freedom stays yours if you claim it. So here's one thing to try today. When you feel anxiety rising, don't fight it. Don't explain it. Just pause for 10 seconds. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what story am I telling right now? And then, is it helping me live better or just making me feel worse? That pause is the moment you come back to yourself. That's your anchor. Final quote to carry with you. No man is free who is not master of himself. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to stop letting fear be the boss. So what's your story? What's one fear you've been rehearsing in your head that you're ready to question? Drop it in the comments. Not for me, for you. To name it. To stop letting it run in the background. And if you're into this kind of clarity, stick around. It'll challenge you, but it might also free you. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want more calm, less chaos.